Hello, I'm here to share some kindergarten through second grade science digital resources to help you during shared synchronous instruction. This document highlights some shared synchronous learning ideas where we can utilize technology integration during the opening, work session, and closing of a shared synchronous science lesson. Let's start with the opening session. During this whole group learning part of the lesson, I'm going to share with you some activities you can utilize using the Smart Suite Lab and Whiteboard.fi. Let's look at Whiteboard.fi. When you're wanting to introduce students to your three-dimensional phenomena for your lesson, your science lesson, you can utilize this interactive whiteboard for your remote learners and your face-to-face learners. All you have to do is simply copy this URL or the QR code where your students can access it, and once they do, their whiteboards will appear here on your screen automatically. In this way, you can facilitate a discussion with your students and they can come up with questions they have about that phenomenon. And teachers can utilize this to drive their instruction. The next resource I want to share with you is the Smart Learning Suite. This is available for all Cobb County teachers. Through the Smart Learning Suite, you can embed and upload already created PowerPoint presentations and Smart Notebook presentations. You can also add interactive activities such as shouted outs, responses, or game-based activities. Students will need devices, so your remote learners and your face-to-face learners can interact together. To give you an idea of some of these examples, I can create a KWL chart for my shouted out, and students can post questions or evidence that they have regarding connecting back to the phenomenon on the board, and it will be displayed for everyone to see at the same time. During the work session part of a shared synchronous instruction science lesson, you can utilize these different digital resources to increase the engagement and to allow students to work in small groups that are socially distanced or in a small group with you. Two resources I want to share with you are Flip Hunt and the CTLS Resource Library. The CTLS Resource Library is where teachers can find over 1 million different resources to assist them and support them in their science instruction. In order to get to the CTLS library, you need to log on to CTLS Teach. Over on the side where you have your toolbar, you're going to click on Resource Library. The easiest way to find science resources is to search out and filter through providers, grade level, and subject. So I'm going to click on HMH, and I'm going to pick on second grade science. So I have 3 filters, and I want to pull some leveled readers for my small groups that I'm going to utilize during the work session. Here you can see all the second grade leveled readers. Oops. When I click on this resource, I can pull it up, and I can see that this is the leveled reader, How Do Engineers Solve Problems? And it lets me know that this is an ebook, and when I go to the resource, I can pull it up on my screen for my remote learners and my face-to-face learners. We can all interactively read this together, or I can utilize it in my small group if I am working with remote learners or face-to-face learners. A flip hunt is a great way to increase the engagement with your students and allows them to create the creative side of independent learning. So a hashtag flip hunt is a digital video scavenger hunt on Flipgrid. It's easy to differentiate for all content areas. It can be a fun, engaging learning experience. It includes movement or opportunities for creative responses. So basically, a flip hunt is a hashtag flip hunt is a bunch of different tasks that the teacher can give the students to do in order for them to demonstrate their learning on specific science content. I have some examples here for you. I have an It's Time to Meet Each Other flip hunt meet and greet, where students will find a friend who has done something and they create a video of that discovery. The next example I have is the geometry flip hunt, where the teacher has different tasks for their students and they have to utilize the flip grid that their teacher has created for them to record their responses. This is a great formative assessment tool that teachers can utilize during the work session of a shared synchronous instruction science lesson. For the closing session, the teacher's going to bring back students together as a whole group to facilitate a discussion to connect back to the phenomena that they were introduced earlier in the at the beginning of the lesson. There are several different digital resources that teachers can utilize during the closing session. I'm going to share with you WordWall and Discovery Education SOS strategies. WordWall is a web-based interactive site where students can interact with each other while they do different games or have interactive discussions. Here's an example of an activity that you can do in WordWall. This is an Animals in the Winter, Hygrate, Migrate, or Adapt group sorting. Here you can see the students can have the ability to pick the cards and drag them into the appropriate boxes, and then they can submit their answers to see how many they got correct. You can do this to formatively assess how your students understand the content that you're explicitly teaching that day. WordWall also has different templates that you can utilize and already pre-made activities that you can look for in the My Activities and Community tab. Discovery Education has an amazing instructional strategy resource that teachers can utilize during the closing session of a science lesson. SOS strategy stands for Spotlights on Strategies that are research-based for integrating Discovery Education digital curriculum resources like their streaming videos that we have access to. Each SOS strategy comes with a video modeling each strategy by a teacher in a classroom and a full-length lesson plan that has been developed that gives you the big idea, steps to implement the strategy, and extensions and accommodations or modifications, along with what materials your students will need. So you can utilize any of these Discovery Education SOS strategies with video clips or full-length episodes that are provided on Discovery Education streaming. I hope all of these digital resources will help you in developing some amazing shared synchronous science lessons for a kindergarten through second grade students.